Yeah, so next to my DeLorean, I'm going to replace the top hoses that go from the water pump, both sides, into the coolant system. And you'll see in a minute the reason why. Whilst the hoses I've got are absolutely completely fine, they're a bit of a mix mash of hoses and old and all this sort of stuff, and not the right ones, kind of thing. So I thought, I'll spend a little bit of money. So these cost basically £85 delivered from DeLorean Go. Rubber versions, I couldn't afford the silicone ones. They're just they're the next level of expense. But yeah, these are obviously really nice, proper jobs. So they're cool. It's got those 3 hoses there. Back of the car, so you can see what I've got. So you can see here I've got the basically so that's not the original hose. That's stamped Canada on it, but it's obviously vaguely the right dimension. Goes down into if you can see, that goes down into a reducer, and into this hose here, which is obviously they're obviously the wrong one. Got the ridges on. Same for this size here. So they've done a good job, but it's not the right one. Double duplicate clips, that sort of stuff. So yeah, and replace that. This one here is potentially the original one here, potentially. I mean, it looks, original and all that sort of stuff. So what I'm gonna do first is I've just started. I don't really want to drain all the coolant out of the radiator at the front, or half the coolant. I don't want to do that. Basically, primarily reasons I've chucked away all my clean receptacles, milk jugs, all that sort of stuff. It's all been emptied and recycling, so kind of haven't really got anything to put it in other than a bucket, and obviously you can't get a bucket under a car this low. So I'm going to do it from the back. So what I've got is one of those a nice coffee cup bucket to put my coolant back in. And all this coolant here is literally, it's all like new, it's all been put in 3 or 4 months ago. So I don't want to sort of chuck away. I will run it through a filter when I reuse it. So what I've done is I've drained out the coolant at the top here. Just start to loosen off these here. Going to put the device into this and drain out the coolant as much as I can from this pipe. That then means I can then change that pipe there, no problem at all. And then I'm going to take off, and that means there'll be no fluid in this section here because it would have all run down to the lowest points. So in theory there'll be a bit of fluid in this section here. There should be. But what I'll do is I'll take the pipe off here and then drop this down into the bucket so I don't spill any coolant on my car. That should then allow me to clear that out. And then we'll kind of see what happens with this hose here. I'm kind of thinking, the coolant might run through, but what I'll do is I'll then take the duplicate off this one here, pull it off, lift it up, again drain out as much of the coolant out of the top, or pour it down into a bucket. So that's kind of like my scenario. Have a little look at that. Obviously minimal coolant waste. It all costs money. It's not very old. And I say when I put it back through the system, obviously I will run it through, just to run it through a filter. But I have cleaned the bucket, so we should all be completely fine. Yeah, and then I'm back in again. So yeah, so it shouldn't take too long. So I'll have a little go now, and then I'll finish off some more later on my lunch. Cool. Cheers. Yep, I also part 2. Yep, so went in really well. All the new hoses did. So like I mentioned, I used the pump to pump out the coolant from the bottle, and then I took off a top hose on here and got the pump down. The pump, input part down most of that tube, sucked out most of that coolant in there. Was then able to then sort of lift up this pipe here a little bit, got a bit more out, took this pipe here off, pumped out a little bit of coolant from the pump here, but otherwise that was pretty easy. That was very easy, I should say, actually. Put the new hose on there with 1 clip each now, so that had 2 clips on the old hose, so that went on perfectly fine. Then I put that hose there on. What I did with this hose here from DeLorean Go is I ended up cutting off an inch off the bottom and an inch off the top of the hose. So fit it first, have a look. When I put it on, it was compressing quite a bit in the middle here, but it's just clearly too long. Or maybe because, of course, people have this metal pipe in different positions, depending on, how much, where it ends here. Obviously, my one ends about, here somewhere. So I guess people might have that hose in different positions. So obviously to double check that, fit it first, then cut off, to make it the best curve as required. But for me, yeah, it was an inch off both ends, so that was fine. And then took off this hose here again, shoved down my device, to pump the coolant out, and then got some of it out. And then beyond, I just put my tub down here and got the rest of it out, you know, down that way there. So just, I don't want to spill anything, that's all, you know, on my driveway kind of thing. All no problem at all. And then that one there went on straight away. Then this one here, of course I haven't got the belt on here, so I don't have aircon on mine. So possibly the belt, you know, obviously would this pipe here would normally come out a bit further. There's tons of on here, because you can see the metal tube goes to here. So for me, that was the optimal route for keeping this piece here nice and optimal. I found that when the hose was, you know, back here, you know, a couple of inches, it wasn't like kinking as such, but it's ever so slightly restricted on this corner section here. But now for me it flows really nice. There was also a clamp around here, metal clamp that clamped onto here with the hose I took off, and I don't know if that's original DeLorean or not, but when I put it back on again, it was way too wide, you know, for this hose. So I've taken it off and left. I've kept it, obviously, in case it is DeLorean. I'll have a look on other pictures in case I want to refit it, but it might be aftermarket, you know, because of the way that they sort of modified and did bits and bobs on there. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Really easy. And I say I've refilled the system. I've got the pot here to bypass it, so you don't get as much air bubbles, etc. in it. I've just been out for a nice drive, about half an hour. Just pulled over initially just to make sure it was fine. But yeah, let it all go through. Went up to normal operating temperature. Active, it's completely normal. So once it's cooled down in a minute, I'll take the cap off and fill it up as necessary to, you know, approximately the halfway mark. You obviously can't see it, but shine a torch down there, roughly halfway. Job done. If you have any excess, once it gets too hot and expands or whatever, it'll come out of the drainage pipe anyway. So no drama there. But yeah, really nice. And those hoses look absolutely sweet. I say about £85 for those hoses, and yep, I'm liking it a lot. Much better than the old crap I took off, and a lot less clips. Cool, nice one. Cheers.